I've always wanted to write a book, and for years I would come up with an idea and start writing, and then just kind of lose the passion for it. And during COVID, I had a lot of extra time. Wasn't traveling for clients, and it was kind of the right moment. And I met a ghostwriter who has written 30 books and sold 500,000 copies, and I realized this was my chance. So I jumped headlong into writing this book. So that was in terms of getting the book done. In terms of why internships, I've hosted interns for years, and I just see so much opportunity to make a difference for these college students and also for employers who want to get the most out of the internship for their companies and for the interns themselves. My current business, Agile Rainmakers, is a high-impact business development, advisory, and consulting firm. And what I do is I work with a lot of different clients, from a cryptocurrency market maker to a women-owned timber company or an online e-commerce company. And the interns will work with me on projects related to these clients or other clients that I'll pick up. And what it does is it actually gives clients a real boost that doesn't cost them a lot of money and lets them take on projects that they wouldn't otherwise. So it makes the company that we serve even better. The interns get a lot of great experience, and naturally, Agile Rainmakers, benefits by being in the middle of this process. I was an intern in college at a company called GETCO. That's the lottery gaming company. GTech stands for Gaming Technologies. That was in the 80s, and my internship was fascinating on some levels, disappointing in others. What was fascinating was being in the middle of a high-growth company, leveraging technology, implementing all the lottery systems as they were just coming out in the 80s. So that was really awesome. Illinois got its lottery system up in the late 80s, and there was a $54 million grand prize, which was the talk of the town at the time, which was really exciting. So being part of that was really cool. Some of the things that didn't work was not being managed really well, not having milestones, goals. I was just kind of thrown into the cubicle space and said, here, make something happen, and not really getting the guidance that I would have liked. And so, that was me interning in college. And I think there was a lot left on the table that I think could have happened that I now provide for interns that work with me. The first time was at GETCO. We hired a young gentleman who actually was an IMSA student, Illinois Math and Science Academy, and he had just won the foreign exchange trading contest that the CME had put on. So hundreds of people had entered. He'd won it, and the CME called us at GETCO and said, hey, we have a bright young man who would like to intern. So we interviewed him. He was one of the best interviews we'd had in the last 3 months, and we hired him, and he started working on projects. And overall, it was a really good experience. And it's amazing what happens, because it's been at least 15 years since then, and we still remain in contact. And he's had a pretty interesting career. And so we have a relationship, and he got great experience. I mean, it's a win-win all around. We didn't have a formal program. We did have some that interned with us, and they would do quite well. I think when you have new technology, and it was early days of high-frequency trading, the interns, they don't know anything else. And so when they come in, they can really learn that new technology very quickly because they have nothing else to let go of. And after a while, they can start teaching the rest of us some of the things, some of the nuances of the technology that maybe we're not as interested in knowing or interested in working on. In my case, the intern that worked with me, he was researching the Asian markets because we hadn't expanded into Asia yet. We had a particular interest in finding out what the trends were with volumes overseas and potentially where GETCO should open up its office in Asia when the time came. Interning is for college students mainly, and what you should you should aim to do it as soon as you can. I think, there's lots of opportunity for both the intern and the client that is hosting the intern. Be prepared. Have a plan. Don't have the intern show up and say, oh, glad you're here. Let's now figure out what you're going to do. Make that a priority before they show up, that you're prepared, you have a plan. And so when they come, they're ready to roll up their sleeves and do some work. That'd be the first thing. Second is everything turns into a data project these days. Make sure when you hire an intern that they've got access to the data. You don't want them spending a couple of weeks waiting for data to accessibility to. That you want to make sure is ready for them, because just about everything's going to involve data. So whatever permissions they need or whatever access they need, please make sure you have that. When you host an intern, you can't be too busy. You have got to make the time for them. And when you make that time, you got to operate with integrity. Make sure you set aside that time so that they feel important. And, so whether it's a weekly meeting that you have with them for half an hour, or whether it's, based on milestones when projects get done, don't be too busy. Don't blow them off. It sends the wrong signal. And remember, these are college students, so they want to be, encouraged. They want to have their confidence elevated, and they want to have a sense of accomplishment, and they want to build a relationship with you. We're seeing a lot more colleges wanting to help their students with internships. I happen to have gone to Princeton, and last year Princeton was doing a real strong outreach to its alumni to hire interns, and I think a lot of schools are following that trend because they know the value of the experience that these students get. Whenever you have an opportunity to be in a new environment with new people and have new conversations, that's always a plus. That's always going to help you. And these students have benefited tremendously because the whole idea that you have to be in person has been blown away. This is a relatively new thing, and many may have thought it wasn't even possible just a couple of years ago, but COVID has really changed that. Roughly 40 to 50% of internships right now are unpaid, and that's been going on for a long time. And one of the trends is less and less of those as they become more and more paid internships. So there's, that's the trend, more paid internships. And I think for a lot of us, you got to look and say, hey, can't you afford a couple of months paying an entry-level person without any benefits, just paying them for some work that's going to add value for the firm? The answer is obvious. Yes, you can. And I think that's going to become more and more how business is done with interns. Typically, you're looking at, $15 an hour. And so, it's entry level. And then they're also getting, and you don't want it just to be this, but they're also getting the experience that they wouldn't otherwise, as well as the relationships and connections. The other big thing that interns can get is training in new skills, new technologies, and, just whole new areas of business. So the interns can benefit tremendously, and their pay can be not just in the cash component, income-wise, anywhere from $15 on up per hour to other benefits that will help them in their careers long-term. Every college student should read this, particularly freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. This is an opportunity for self-reflection. It's an opportunity for growth and development. Early on in your career, there's so much to learn, and this book has all kinds of philosophical nuggets around business and life. And the book has lots of quotes from very famous people throughout history that help keep the reader engaged in where we're, in the idea of what the company, what a internship could be about. And then there's lots of exercises to do. So as a reader can, go through and answer questions and reflect and really think through and envision what their ideal internship would look like and what it is that they would need to let go of that might get in the way of them being as productive and as engaged as an intern as they could be. The book also has some information about how to be mentored and how to, really listen and contribute to the firm that you're at. We also talk about, the fact that life's a game and you're always winning the game you're playing. And what is the game you're playing as an intern? Is it all about you and having something on your resume, or is the game bigger than that? Is the game having your manager succeed or really contributing to the company authentically, or the game of having the team succeed, whatever team you're on. And so we really look at, what is the game you're playing? Is it an authentic game where everyone around you wins? Or is it a game where it's just about you? And, the answer is obvious in terms of which game to play, but you don't know that until you maybe read the book or someone explains that to you. And the other thing, too, is, one of the things is, life's a game when it isn't, and it's not a game when it is. And that's meant to empower folks to really understand that, the idea of an internship is something to take on. And once you're in it, it's a whole different experience than when you're on the outside talking about it. And being in it, you'll notice how much you're talking to yourself about any little failure or any little thing that didn't go the way you wanted. And so most of it is about you really expanding what you can do as a student, as an intern, and contribute to your training, your growth and development as a future business leader, if that's a path that you choose to take. So the book is for anyone who's a freshman, sophomore, or junior in college, who's looking to do an internship. And I might even say, as a stretch, that a high school senior could read it and get a lot out of it, as well as a college senior as they're stepping into their career. College students tend to think that everything is at stake with their internship, and like they have to get one, and it's a make or break situation. And, frankly, the big banks aren't helping because, this summer I had an intern working in June, and they were interviewing for an internship next summer. So this is a college sophomore in their June, and they're interviewing for an internship the following summer, which hopefully leads to a job. So, there's this whole misperception, like this is it. If they don't get their internship now, that it's going to be a real problem. And so it leads to a lot of anxiety. And that's something that we need to find a way to manage and let go of. So that's one of the things, one of the misperceptions is like, this is it, and this is their only chance. And it's not. A career is a lifelong endeavor. And then the second thing, misperception, is the college student as an intern, doesn't realize that the company knows that they're a novice, and that if they wanted an experienced hire, they would have gone out and gotten one. So for a lot of college students, like, they're not clear that, the expectations are that they are beginners in the company, and that there's a lot of leeway to make mistakes. There's a lot of leeway to fail. There's a lot of leeway to learn and grow. And just having that comfort and freedom to get in there and just take it on and be okay if something doesn't go fine or perfectly well. That's another thing that I think the college students and frankly society should embrace. The fact that folks aren't perfect, but they should give it their all. And when there's a mistake made, particularly as an intern, it's okay, it happens.